All right, so what's up, guys? Back in Late Night Shots, episode 34. Today we got another special guest for you guys. We got three-time New Jersey State champion and All-American for Penn State, Jimmy Lawson.
How you doing, man? Happy to be on the show.
Yeah, nice having you on here. Guy, a lot of Penn State fans have, wanted to have on here. Anthony Cassar, be busy with a lot of things. Are you still in the room?
Yeah, that's my dude.
Yeah. Are you still in the room at all?
Not so much now. I'm out. Yeah. I train. Well, I'm wrestling here and there, but I train mostly at Killer B MMA. I work out with a lot of the heavyweights out there, like Sean Teed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's out by Freehold. Carl Robinson's out of there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get ready for a fight. I'm supposed to have a fight coming up soon, so trying to prepare for that.
Ah, nice. So, so we'll get right into it. So, you probably had the most historic career as a heavyweight in New Jersey, winning 3 state titles. So, when did you start wrestling?
I started in 8th grade. My middle school coach, 8th grade year, picked me out. I was just roaming the hallways one day. He said I looked like a big kid. I should be on the wrestling mat. And, I tried it out. Had success very, very early in it. It had its learning curves, but I had success. I had fun. A lot of my friends were on the team, and, I stuck with it. And, it paid off for me.
Yeah. Were you a football player before this, or did you?
Yeah, I grew up playing football predominantly. I followed wrestling when I got into it, but I didn't really start really getting into it until that summer of my freshman year. I started to follow who was who in New Jersey. I started to learn more about the culture Jersey has, and Jersey being one of the powerhouses as far as wrestling. It was great seeing that and learning from that era. We had a lot of great wrestlers come out the area.
Yeah. So you pretty much wrestled in the time frame. I think Anthony Ashton was still in high school while you were, and he might be the only guy.
He was a couple years. He was a couple years after me. I think when I was a senior, he was a freshman when he won his first one. My era was more so Scotty Winston, Glenn Carson, Andrew Camplatano. Those.
Was Darian Caldwell in your time? Or?
No. He's wait a little bit before me. I think that's early 2000s when he yeah.
Yeah. Were you watching him wrestle at all? When you're in middle school?
Yeah, the craziest thing about it is being in high school, I remember that being one of my earliest memories. Coach had us all gather, and it was one of the first times I started to learn about wrestling greats out of Jersey. He put on this, back then it was a DVR, and he played a little tape, and had highlights from Bruce Baumgartner, Darren Caldwell, that whole area, and that was my first time really, starting to delve into the history of wrestling, and that's kind of where I started to want to follow, New Jersey wrestling. What inspired me was, the people that were succeeding in Jersey, because a lot of these, shore wrestling back then was very powerful, and there was a lot of kids in the area to look up to or figure out a blueprint to take after and succeed in your own way. So that was good for me growing up.
Yeah. Do you still follow wrestling in New Jersey, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So after you, there was a big spur of really talented young heavyweights coming to the field. You had Eric Chaconis coming a couple years after you. Before him, I think you had Andrew Stevens, who wasn't even predominantly a wrestler. He just pretty much manhandled everybody, just like you did in high school. And then you had most notably, you have Luis Fernandez and Jimmy Mon as a freshman.
Yeah, Luis out at Cornell, and Jimmy, I congratulate. I reached out to him. Kid starts, and I was happy to see it. All right, so it's good. It's good to set the bar and have these kids come up after you. Achieving high success and keeping heavyweight on the map in New Jersey. So, I'm definitely proud of that culture. Before me, you had guys that, that passed the torch on to me. So,
Yeah. I'm actually like good friends with Jimmy, so I think we were talking one day. He was like, "Oh, he'll take like 1 year at a time, obviously, but like he says his main goal is, to obviously break your record, come like the first 4-time heavyweight state champ." You
as
know,
he should, man, as he should. I'm hoping he does. The great thing about it is kind of cool though. He shares the same name.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's crazy actually to think about, but
hmm
yeah. Did you know about him like before coming into his freshman season?
To tell you the truth, I didn't really know about him, but like I heard I heard a freshman was making noise, but I never thought he would have the run he did in the finals, and he did it in impressive fashion. This kid, obviously you don't want to talk too soon. He doesn't want to talk too soon, but he had an impressive freshman run in that state tournament. I definitely paid attention to the state tournament, knew about him then. I think immediately after that tournament, I went and searched him on Instagram and followed him and congratulated him. That's a big accomplishment. Wrestling Jersey is different. Like I was saying before, we only have one state champion.
Yeah.
And to do that as a freshman is amazing.
Yeah. I just want to get your quick opinion on this. He's coming into his sophomore year. A lot of unexpected things are probably going to happen this year just due to like COVID and all that stuff going on. You
Mm-hmm.
got to see like week 5 in the NFL coming up. You see like how many injuries there have been. Like it sucks to think about, but like guys aren't practicing as much. Your body's just not in the right shape. That should go.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he comes out? Last year he was kind of just sneaking by some matches, and then he was coming up big in other ones. Do you think he comes out and like fully manhandles the field, or do you think it's kind of just like a little bit more dominant?
Well, I mean, it all depends. COVID isn't just going to affect him; it affects everybody.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that with that being said, I think what's going to separate him from the rest of the pack is the fact that he's already won a state title. He was a freshman last year. Going in as a freshman, I don't know about him, but I know me for myself, you don't have quite the confidence because it's something new, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was dominant in 8th grade, but you're still approaching something new. It's different, stepping into high school opposed to being in middle school. But with that being said, he's already won. So I think with that, he's going to bring a certain level of confidence. And I feel like, if anything, he might be rusty, but so will the rest of the competition. I think he's going to be more comfortable out there, though,
Yeah.
Because he's already won.
Yeah. So I think the most talked about guy this like last season would have been Luis Fernandez pinning everybody in the state. Like I'm pretty sure you probably heard about that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what'd you think about just like his senior season as a whole?
His senior season?
Yeah.
I was impressed, and I'm happy to see another heavyweight throw legs. That was something I used to do a lot in high school, and
Yeah.
I feel like my senior run, that's how I earned my reputation. I was just throwing legs and putting in the half, and to see another kid, a heavyweight, do the same, follow suit. It's nothing. I mean, it does nothing but make you happy because I feel like before me, it wasn't really a thing for heavyweights to be trying to do all these moves that lightweights do. Like you weren't seeing too many guys trying to throw legs like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like it started a trend where now everyone's just opening up their offense, opening up their top game. No one's really going into it, limiting themselves from what they could do. And, it's great seeing that.
Yeah. I was actually I think today, after I texted you this morning, seeing if you're free tonight to do this. I actually watched your match against Mike Tavanello of Ohio State. Remember that one where you like, what move I'm talking about, like your signature like signal.
The boot scoot?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Where like you just tripped the outside leg. I was
Mm-hmm.
watching that, and then I think I posted that on TikTok too. Guy has like 500 likes right now already.
Yeah, man. I learned that move from Drew Doyle at Elite Wrestling my freshman year. He was a senior. He took second in the state his senior year at a wall, But yeah, he was a bigger heavyweight, definitely all of 285, about 6'3", and his boot scoot was a little bit different, but that's where I adapted the move from, and I made it my own, and it worked for me. It's how I contribute that to getting my first state title. So
Yeah.
that's just like you said, it's my signature move.
Yeah. I think people when they think about you, they're gonna look at your three state titles, and that's really it.
Hmm.
And your biggest career win coming in the state finals your sophomore year. But what was like your freshman season like?
Um, I finished the year 28-8. I definitely had some big wins and some close matches. I mean, I think from my freshman year, it was an opportunity to see just how far I was behind the competition. I remember at first, getting eliminated in regions, that was my first year ever going to region, ever knowing what it was. But getting eliminated there was, at first it was hard on me because I had worked really hard and I had lost to someone I had beat twice, that year. But it was a lot of inexperience, and what it taught me a valuable lesson, how to prepare the next season going in. But the craziest thing about that year is everybody that placed it out of my region that year placed in the state finals. I think we had like a second place, third place, and a fifth place. So, at the end of the day, if you're not gonna make it, at least we had all medals coming out of the area.
Yeah. You know how they changed like the region now? Like I know back when you were wrestling, up until I think 2016, it was
Mhm.
top three region go state, and now it's top four.
Yeah.
You got rid of the first round buy-in states. That could have probably changed it. Do you think you would have gotten on the podium if you did make the state tournament?
Uh, if anything, I think the region where I wrestled has gotten weaker. Back when I wrestled for Region 6, the historic junior year I had is something that I don't think will ever be broken. That year at a Region 6, we had 7 state champs. Yeah, all the weight class, we had 7 state champs. And, I feel like the whole reason why they changed the whole format of the state tournament was because of our region. People were complaining because, you got kids wrestling out of our area who can't get out of our region because it's just so deep, but they be beating kids that are ranked in the state from other regions. And I think breaking up Region 6 was a way to give these kids, everybody a fair chance. But I kind of missed that competition level we had with Region 6. Even though obviously not everyone can make it out of Region 6, it was just, we took pride being from that region and representing the state. When it was time to wrestle in the state tournament, being in that locker room, it was weird. It was like a team atmosphere. You were wrestling against these kids the weekend before, just ready to beat them and embarrass them in front of their home fans and stuff like that, their team. And the next weekend we're here as close as can be, like we're teammates, like we've been teammates the whole season, trying to outdo other regions. So I think that's one aspect that's going to be missed from the old format.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. But you got eliminated in regions your freshman year. Kind of underwhelming to you. You probably just use that as like extra motivation coming your sophomore season.
Mm-hmm.
And then going from getting eliminated in regions to winning the state title is a huge change, especially from freshman to sophomore year. So, what do you think really clicked like that off season going into your sophomore year?
Um, I think I adapted a screw it mentality. Being as a freshman, you let a lot of things bother you. Going into that next year, I did so well as a freshman, and when I looked at the kids coming back, a lot of these kids that I was beating or that I was losing to were seniors. I noticed as the years were go on, the kids I'd be in competition with were graduating, and I was slowly coming into my own. That sophomore year, I felt comfortable. That was my first year traveling around the country doing national tournaments and exploring freestyle and stuff like that. So I think that was very important for me. That jump from getting eliminated in regions to all the way to the beginning of sophomore season. Because I didn't stop wrestling. I was playing football, but right before football season started, I was entering tournaments. I'm talking about through the training camp, through summer and stuff like that. I was still wrestling and still in tournaments and still going to club every night. And I think that's where I made my biggest leap. I think the person I struggled with most was Harry Turner. I wrestled him 4 times. I lost him 3 times that year before wrestling and beating him in the state final. And if to me it was just such a long time coming, each match I wrestled him, I felt myself getting closer and closer and closing the gap. So by the time I had wrestled him in the state final, all those losses had prepped me to get that win. I knew his best moves and stuff like that. And he was a great wrestler at Howe. And he set the bar for me. Right, having to wrestle him in region and all types of tournaments around the shore.
Yeah. Going into, were you so your only losses were to Harry Turner going to the match?
I believe I had 2 to Harry Turner and 1 to a kid from Cinnaminson.
All right, I got you. So, going into that, I think he was a senior that year, right?
Yeah, he was a senior that year.
So he was the 1 seed, I'm assuming, going to a tournament?
Yeah, he was like the 1 seed. I was like I think the 8th seed or something like that, or 8th or 6th seed. And yeah, the Cinnaminson kid was like the 3rd seed. The number 2 seed was this kid from Newton, and I had upset him in I think the quarterfinals. Not the quarterfinals. I ended up wrestling some kid from Don Bosco in the semis.
Was it? It wasn't Zach, right? Jonas?
From Don Bosco? No. The kid from Don Bosco was Chris Manna.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think he was the 3rd seed. The kid from Newton was the 2nd seed.
Yeah. I mean, this is all like so long ago. I'm trying to figure out where at this point.
It's crazy. 10 years ago. Well, more than 10 years ago for that.
I don't even know if Chicanos was in high school at this point, but going to state final match, you're a huge underdog. But you're only a sophomore. And you're wrestling a senior. All the pressure's really on him this time because he's beaten you twice already this season. Going into that match, was your mentality more like, we'll hold him off and capitalize, or was it just like let it fly?
Let it fly. I had lost to him in the All-Star match that year, but I was beating him. It was just, my inexperience. That was the 3rd year I've ever wrestled, and I put myself in a bad position on top, and I got Peterson's. It was embarrassing. You know what I mean? So when I came into the state final match, I knew I was going to use the same approach, but this time we were going to stay disciplined. So I was looking at the game from, being aggressive on bottom, and I knew I could take him down. So just be aggressive on my feet, just be disciplined on top. And that's what got us the loss the first time. But I knew I could defend his shots. He had a dangerous little single, but, I had seen it so many times that year.
Yeah. So, I actually, I rewatched a bunch of matches. There aren't many on YouTube at this point, but looking through, I think that the one match with you and Harry Turner, I just randomly go to the comments, it's like one guy said most of the times the best wrestler wins, and then they say he didn't. And I was like, at the end of the day, like it's a state title, whoever, that's the most important match. Like you can lose to a guy 3 times a season, you beat him when it matters. And then, what's your kind of thought on that?
The great thing about this sport is anything can happen. To that person, anything can happen. The reason why we do this sport is because on any given day, anybody could be the victor. It's all about who wants it more. I might have not been the best wrestler that day, but I wanted it more. And, me and Harry are, we're good friends, ironically, and I've wrestled him a few times in college. We talk about it all the time. There's no hard feelings about it. And the thing he tells me is, if anybody was going to beat him that year, he's happy with someone that continued winning. I didn't just win that year and just fall off. I kept pushing myself to do more. And, that's one thing to take away from it. It's a good outlook.
So, you're coming off a huge win on your sophomore season. Going into your junior season, I'm assuming you're ranked unanimously number 1 at this point.
Yeah, I think I was at my junior season. I was ranked like fifth or sixth in the country. That sophomore year, I had wrestled in a national tournament, beat some kid that was committed to Virginia Tech, and that's what kind of shot me up the ranking. So I was like the only junior ranked in like the top 10, and it was crazy at the time. That's when I started to get real exposure, and a lot of people started to follow me and know my name throughout the wrestling world.
Yeah. This was like the
So,
time like you had guys like Don Bradley still in high school.
mhm,
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy to think about. Like where all these guys are now, you're fighting the MMA. Uh,
mhm.
Tom Bradley's gonna try to make an Olympic spot this year. I don't know really what other notable guys. Maybe Zach Ray, I think at this point, or he might be in college.
Don Bradley. Wait, you said repeat the question about Don Bradley again?
You know, no, I mean like what other guys were like in the top 20 at this point, except for you and Dom.
That's a tough question. I would have to do my research on that.
I mean, I'll probably look into it after.
Yeah.
So, your junior season, like, you already won a state title, and especially at this point, were you lifting like a lot during this, or like,
Yeah, I had aspirations to go play in the league one at this point in time. I was as big as I was getting garnishing, attention from wrestling. I had attention from football. Uh, my biggest thing that year was going to the All American Combine down in San Antonio, Texas. At the time, Bryce Brown, he was a running back on recruit in the nation. It was the Army game that they have every year. I don't know if they
oh,
still.
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. I was down. I was the junior class that was down there trying to get selected to play in that game for the following year. Um, so I had put on a lot of weight, and tell you the truth, I was. Let's just say that junior year is probably on conditioning as I should have. I was in football shape, and like I said, I was overweight, a little bit overweight out of what I usually wrestle at. So it took me a little bit longer to get back into shape.
It probably took me, like, I think like probably a couple weeks now to just get back into like wrestling shape in general.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, did you feel like you were kind of like cruising through competition at this point, like in those at least?
No, I had wrestled Don Bradley before, and I always he would probably be the dude I'd run into in a state final. I'd wrestled, most of the guys. Brandon DiDonato, who was like, who they ranked as number two. He went to club with me, short thing. So every single I knew who my competition, but Dom definitely always got attention from me because he went to those same national tournaments I was at, and he was getting success beating good kids. So I felt like that was going to be a tough match, and he definitely gave me a tough match. Only won that 1-0.
You're kind of cutting out a bit of your audio.
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
There we go.
What'd you say about you and Don Bradley before this?
No, I just was saying, like, I knew he was going to be my toughest competition. He went to the same national tournaments as me, and he was beating good kids. Gave me it was a one. That was a tough one. His stature was just really wrestling against someone that was underneath people because of that factor. Don Bradley was shorter than me, and so he was hard to shoot on. To get to his legs. He had a really good double from what I remember.
That's like his signature move at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you pretty much win the state title. But going into state finals, like, did you have like any nerves going to that? Because I know for me, like, I won a tournament my junior year. Going to the finals again my senior year, it was more like instead of like being happy about it, it was like more just stress. Like, what if I lose now? Like,
I think my state final, my state tournament, my well, that year in general, I wouldn't say I cruised. Had like it only took one move for that kid to beat me my junior year, and it lit a fire under me. I was pissed off after that junior year, only winning 1-0. I felt like I should have did more than that. In a way, I felt like I didn't deserve that state title because I knew I could have did better. You know, I felt like that senior year, I felt like I was in my best shape and the best me came out. I finished that state tournament in like 3 minutes, and you know, was teching people was during my match. Um, I feel like that was my most prepared year and definitely my most comfortable year.
yeah.
Yeah.
So coming into your senior season, at this point, you're pretty much like like unstoppable from what I've seen like on film at least. So I'm assuming you were undefeated again going to states at this point.
You said what? Hold on. Repeat the question.
So going to your senior season, coming off like your last match wasn't too great, but you're still a two-time state champ at this point. You're going into the season. What's your kind of like mentality going to your last high school season?
My fault, man. My service is real bad in this area. I guess it wasn't. It's just acting up right now. Um, my senior year was tough. I did have distractions that were making the choice or play football. That was and I had announced that I was going to play football before I got through the year, and that was just I was getting a lot of negativity from that whole aspect because everyone wanted me to wrestle.
Yeah, I feel what you're saying.
That could have been during the season.
Yeah. All right, so I think going to your state finals match is probably one of the most dominant performances I've seen, except for maybe Luis Fernandez, the senior year, 42nd pin. Yours was pretty dominant too. So going into that match, you're already the favorite. It's pretty much just like, was it like you wanted to get a pin just to close out for your career?
Yeah, I mean, I pinned everyone in the match. Why waste any time? I wanted to information on my career. At the time, I thought that was going to be the last time I put on wrestling shoes and step on the mat. So I wanted to go out with a bang, give something to remember.
Yeah. So after this, you probably had like an interesting turn in your career at this point. I know you went to play football for a couple years, and then you came back to Penn State. So what kind of like impacted your decision to do that?
My service is so bad.
It's all good. Did you hear the question?
Um, I didn't hear the question, but I try. I heard you say something
What kind of
about Mama, but
choice to come back to wrestling in college?
um, of being around that atmosphere. But there's something that just doesn't replace the idea of like one because it's the result of a lot of work and time with your teammates, to get the win. Days and still get the win. Could have did better. And wrestling or in fighting, you know, is what you're going to receive, and when you've put in the work nonstop and it's just the icing on the cake. It's so satisfying winning in an individual sport. You can't hide behind anybody. It's just you and that other person out there who's going to hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. Are you back now? Or
Yeah, I don't know what was going on before.
all right, cool. So yeah, we just got past talking about you. What impact did your choice to come to Penn State to wrestle? So going into your freshman season, you're on. This was like when Kale first came to Penn State. About at this point, like maybe a couple years after, you're wrestling with guys. Probably the most notably on this team, you have Ed Ruth. So how did this environment like differentiate from like high school?
Uh, Stepping onto a team where either from college or from what they did going into school at Penn State. And crazy thing about it is, if I look back, it was really crazy, seeing the success we've had at Penn State and, just the dynasty we've built that I've been able to be blessed to be a part of. Um, the whole crazy thing is it all started, one day I'm coming home from Monmouth. At this time, I'd already just signed my transfer papers, and I get a call from my parents out of nowhere. I'm on my way home for the weekend. I mean, or it was like a Thursday or something like that because mom was only like 30 minutes from where I live. So I would go home sometimes. And I get a call from my parents saying that Cale Sanderson's on his way on the house. Hurry up and get home. And, I almost couldn't believe it at first when I heard it because, who would ever believe Cale Sanderson would just when I decided I was going to go back to wrestling, I knew who he was. I knew who he was before that, and I knew what he had already accomplished at Penn State. But to have him come to my house directly after not wrestling 2 years was crazy. It was insane. Something I'll always remember.
Yeah. So I think probably the most overlooked part of Penn State, just like throughout the years, Kale's been there, have to be like the heavyweights. You have some like guys who are like all time, like just like they're always up there. I think Anthony Starr is the first one to really win national title. But
Terry McCoy, but Anthony, Anthony definitely, represented the heavyweight class the best recently. I'm proud of him. It's kind of weird. Kind of always knew he was going to be a heavyweight. He would. During my time there, when I was the heavyweight, he would always be my training partner. He's a 97 pounder, but we had Morgan McIntosh at the time, and he wasn't cutting weight because he wasn't the starter. So he would be around 210, 215, and he'd get stuck being our drill partner. So, honestly, I wasn't surprised that he ended up being a heavyweight and having this type of success he had because he had to deal with me and Gingrich every day. And, there comes a certain level of preparation when you're dealing with moving around that weight all the time.
yeah, so even in addition to that, you have Nick Nevels, who's he would have been a three-time All-American. If Starr didn't take his spot. You have brother Seth coming in. Has a pretty solid season, and then probably the biggest talk of heavyweight right now is going to be Greg Kerkvliet. A guy who could possibly dethrone Gable Steveson. So like, how do you think like the weight class is like evolved?
Um, I mean, I think at the I think we just built the culture. You know, even before me, our heavyweights, from Cary, there was a list of heavyweights that were, knocking at the door to try to get there, try to be the next one to win a national title after Cary, and I think we've all been close, but obviously, could Anthony was able to break through and actually accomplish it. And that's just more credit to him, and how big of accomplishment it is, because like you said, we did have a lot of guys at heavyweight that don't get talked about, and not only that, he beat supposedly one of the could be best heavyweights out there.
Do you think there's a possibility that Gable Steveson can win an Olympic title this year?
you know Obviously it's a possibility. I'm not going to take that away from him, but I don't know, man. I think that's Gwiazdowski's spot to lose. I have nothing but respect for him, because I remember wrestling him all throughout college. Before he even went to NC State, he was at Binghamton, right?
Yeah.
And knowing this kid as a sophomore, like where the hell did this kid come from? And then obviously the rest is history from there. He went on to win two national titles, almost three. Um, I think it's his. Like I said, I think it's his spot to lose. But I think when Gwiz is done, Gable Stevenson's gonna step in nicely.
What do you think about a guy like Greg Kirkland? Do you think there's a chance he could take it? Because personally, I do think there is.
I think I think we're gonna have to see. I don't know his whole story. I think he came in late, right, or something like that.
No, he took a red shirt.
He took a red shirt. Okay.
He has an Olympic red shirt that he can't use because
hmm
another year of separation from guys.
I think I think he has a chance to be great, and he has obviously the best people, I think, in the world leading him. They have such a great culture at Penn State, and not only do you have other talented heavyweights that obviously get you ready for the level of competition, but you also have great wrestling minds, and not just David Taylor, but Bo Nickel's still there, Nolf's still there, Zane's still there, freaking you got a Kyle
Nah, you're cutting out.
there, I believe, with all those people. Uh, but yeah, no, I think he has a great chance. I think he has a great chance to have success early. There's a lot of great wrestling minds out there already. Not only does he have talented wrestlers that are going to bring him to that next level just initially, because they're already great wrestlers in their own right, ranked wrestlers in their own right, but he also has great minds like Bo and Nolf, Zane, Kale, obviously. Freaking, I think Kyle Snyder's out there.
Yeah.
You know, all the guys I graduated, a lot of those guys are still out there. I think Gingrich is even still out there. So he has a lot of guys that that he can use as training partners, and guys he can pull you know just info from to talk with, and get the right stuff he needs to get to the level of winning a national title.
All right, yeah. Oh, I got one question. I'm not sure if you're gonna want to answer this. You might know what it is. The whole Bubba Jenkins thing.
Bubba, that happened the year before I got there, so I don't really have any comments on that. But I remember seeing that match and hearing about the story. Like I said, I don't know all the details, but I remember seeing that match and hearing about the story, and hearing about the story, about him transferring but being a Penn State guy, and essentially, Dave. Dave is a monster, one of the best wrestlers to ever come out of Penn State. So, I mean, I get the whole situation, but it is crazy how he transfers to another school and he ends up pinning him in the finals. Um, but yeah, that's just a great wrestling moment because at that point I thought he was an underdog, essentially.
Yeah,
That's a highlight that always gets replayed because everybody respects just how great Dave is, even at that age. So yeah, that was a big moment, and that day Penn State was not the one that came out on top. It's okay though.
the fact that David Taylor only won 2 national titles is just crazy to think about. Like, see where he's at now.
I mean, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's not a bad resume. You don't have 4 national titles, but look, the worst you've ever done is second.
Yeah,
You know,
Kyle Davis is exactly the best draw.
yeah, it's not bad to lose to Kyle Dake.
Yeah.
You know,
So we're gonna. I have one question. I remember I put up this poll on my page like a while ago. Like, which is a crazier upset? You had like three, I think. Like two of them were in the same tournament. You're gonna have Bubba Jenkins over David Taylor, Kyle Snyder over Jaden Cox his freshman year, or Kyvan Gadsden pinning Kyle Snyder in the finals.
Kyle Gadsden pinning Kyle Snyder in the finals, and I think that is one of the greatest moments because Kale's obviously from Iowa State.
Yeah,
You know, and he knew the coaches from there. And when we worked out that national tournament, we got a chance to get to know the coaches as well. We got introduced as Kale's old coach and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. What I will say about that is I do know Kyle had a lot of things going into that tournament. I think he was dealing with the death of his dad. So knowing all that information and seeing him accomplish something like that in that fashion after the hype Snyder had behind him was just amazing. You could be nothing but happy for him. I think that's one of the greatest moments I've seen in wrestling, probably besides watching Anthony Robles. I believe I got the name correct.
yeah, Anthony.
Win a national title. That was pretty crazy as well.
I mean, those are like before my time, but I've watched replays on that. Just the way this man, you see him walking up onto the stage, with crutches, and then you're like Matt McDonough is like an elite level wrestler too. You see him to go shows like, is it really going to be close? But then he comes out and shocks you every time he wrestles.
Yeah. That's like I said. That's one of the craziest moments I've seen.
Yeah. So going into your college career, I'm something we've even talked about a lot. I think kind of sucks because Flo was always posting that one video of you and Alan Jelagayev, and then I was like, damn, they posted this like 6 times already.
Yeah, for whatever reason, Flo does not like me. I guess they
Uh,
don't post it. They don't post any of my good stuff, any of my upset stuff, but they always post that match. One thing I will say about that is, 2 years off of wrestling and to come back to the highest level that you could possibly come back to is a hard transition to do. And if you don't think that's the case, just ask Andrew Campitano or a few other guys who did the same thing. So, when I wrestled my first year, it was tough adjusting. I didn't have a full summer. Um, and to be honest with you, those 2 years previously, I was preparing for football all year round. I had a full scholarship at Mom's University, and that was just my focus. So, doing that, and then going right into wrestling, right into the best wrestling program in the best conference was, a tough adjustment at first. It wasn't until my junior year where I started to really get my feet underneath me. I started to come into my own. I started to have bigger matches, and unfortunately, I was having a close match with
Bobby Crawford,
no Northwestern heavyweight
Mike McMullen.
Mike McMullen. Yeah, it was like 2-2. He dad came to Penn State, and at this point in time, I knew I had gotten my groove back. I had a full year of Penn State underneath me. I had a full summer camp underneath me, so I was in shape. I was ready to go. Everything felt natural. And in that match, I had a really bad hyperextension and tore my MCL completely. That put me all the way out until the following October. So, after finally getting my feet underneath me, here comes this injury that keeps me out from February all the way to October. We start wrestling October 25th. That was tough. Obviously Penn State in that time, I remember being on crutches, crutching around, can't get from class to class in the snow. My knee was completely messed up, and that was a tough rehab, and it was just tough getting back in shape. But a lot of people look at the career and stuff like that, and like been like, you could have did this, could have did that. But one thing I'll take from it is I did things my way, and doing it, go from going playing football to wrestling, I wouldn't change it any other way. And I was proud of being able to come back and All American, because honestly, with those odds, not being able to wrestle the whole season and not missing the whole off season, I don't, no one can tell me you're supposed to All American, but I was able to do it. But yeah, that kind of sucked because like I said, junior year I started to catch my groove, so that injury, obviously derailed me and set me back a ways.
If you had to pick one of your collegiate matches to be like your favorite, which one would it be and why?
It would have to be the match against Virginia Tech with Ty Walls.
Uh,
That match, he was ranked number 4 and number 3 in the nation, and we were losing 14-16 or something like that. So we needed a win for us to win the tournament. I mean, for us to win the match, or we were going to lose to Virginia Tech at home and break a home winning streak. And I just knew I wasn't about to be the reason why we broke our win streak. Not wearing a Penn State singlet, not in that moment. The moment felt right, because I remember chomping at the bit to be the person to stop the run and just crush their spirits on thinking that they're about to leave Rec Hall with a win. So I definitely choose that match as my favorite moment.
how did the match go down? Like, what was like the final score?
It was 3-3. It was 3-3 going into overtime. And at this point, me and him had taken a lot of shots back and forth, just sprawling or just, escaping, either sprawling or just stuffing the shot or just escaping, just back and forth. Really, it was looking like a lightweight match with a lot of low singles and high C's. And, in the overtime, instead of waiting and sitting back, I decided to say, screw it. Late in the quarter, I took a half shot. He kind of stuttered his feet, and I got a low single, went out the back. He tried to kick away, and I was able to grab his other leg. I never forget it, how Rec Hall roared as soon as the ref called 2, and it was just a crazy moment.
Mm-hmm. When was this? This was in like the regular deal season, right?
Yeah, this was my senior year. This was like December 15th, so right before Scuffle.
All right. So you've only wrestled, I think, what was it, 3 seasons technically?
3 seasons, yeah. Finishing with a 77-33 record.
Do you have any regrets? Do you ever wish you didn't play football in college?
I mean, part of me thinks about, the possibility of what I would have accomplished, had I had fully committed to wrestling and not taking 2 years off, because, you definitely do have to have a learning curve when you take that much off of wrestling. Wrestling is not an easy sport to come back to. And then on top of that, where I left the sport, I've been at that point the number 1 heavyweight in the country for most of my junior and senior year. And, part of you regrets, but part of you feels like it happened for a reason. You make choices and you learn from them. I wanted to play football. I wanted to wrestle, and both those choices brought me opportunities, in adulthood that I didn't think would come. Like, a lot of people don't know, even though I wrestled at Penn State, I had opportunities. I had opportunities to work out with the Jets and be able to get to mini camp. And a lot of people can't say that. A lot of people don't even get in the door. I've been able to do that, and also, with wrestling, being at a high level, being a part of a dynasty, I also had opportunities with, having my first MMA fight, a part of UFC. That being the opportunity coming because I'm working with someone like DC who knows me from the wrestling community. Those are things I look at. So I mean, like I said, everything happens for a reason, and it's all about the stories you'll be able to tell when you're older.
Yeah.
I've been a lot of places and I've been blessed to be able to see a lot of different things because my athletic career. So I wouldn't change it for the world.
So, as of what you just said, number one heavyweight in the country, you decide to pick football over wrestling. That kind of correlates exactly with like the number one kid in the country right now. So, the number one kid from my senior season, his name was Nash Hutmacher. I don't know if you know him, but the guy was pretty much dominated everybody. Tech the kid in the Fargo finals. They called him the polar bear. He was 6'5", cutting from like 320 in the offseason. And he ended up picking to commit to Nebraska for football over wrestling. Do you think there's a chance that guys come back? Like,
It depends. For me, Monmouth just wasn't what I expected it to be. I have no disrespect to the school, but being at Penn State, you really felt the culture. Being from Manchester, we have school spirit, but we're not a big sports school. So it's not like going to Southern or Jackson. I'm just naming schools from our area. It's not like those where the passion really flows over to the sports. Like your brother, your mom, everybody goes to everybody did the same thing. They all, it's not like that. But being a part of Penn State, I got a chance to experience that. Monmouth was not like that. Monmouth was like a suitcase college. A lot of kids during the weekends went home or went back to the city.
I know a couple of my friends actually go to Monmouth. The one kid I played football with this year is playing. He's doing track at Monmouth.
Yeah, if you look at them now, they've come a long way. This nice stadium that they have now, they didn't have when I was going there. It wasn't even half of that.
Do you know who JT Cornelius is?
Yeah, I've heard the name.
He was the kid who Jimmy Mullen ended up beating in state finals.
Okay.
The guy was like, he's probably like 6'6", we call him the stick bug. I think me, Jimmy, JT, like a bunch of other guys all like group chat together. So we all are like good friends with each other.
Mm-hmm.
He was, I think, the 7th seed at the state tournament, but he lost in the district finals. He lost in the region finals. And then he had a big run. He knocked off the 2 seed in the Rutgers commit, 8-2 in the quarterfinals, which was like nobody really paid attention to it because the 1 seed lost on the other side of the bracket. And then he kind of just kept sneaking through. He won his semis in overtime, but nobody's really paying attention to him because everybody has their eyes on Jimmy Mullen. And then he ended up making the finals. And then every kid he lost to placed behind him at this point.
So, what year is this kid? He's a senior?
Oh, yeah, he was a senior. He's playing football at Monmouth now.
Monmouth, like I said, Monmouth has come a long way since I've been there. I think they've won 2 conference championships. It wasn't as frequent back when I was there, but now they're constantly sending kids to the NFL to get opportunities, and that's it's great to see that. I'm happy for Coach Callahan and what they got going on there. Actually, my cousin is looking into going to Monmouth, and he's like a highly recruit from St. Joe's. So,
What's the name from which St. Joe's?
Huh?
Which
Huh? I gotta ask his dad.
the one that Jimmy saw?
Huh?
The one that Jimmy Mullen goes to?
I gotta ask his dad. I'm not sure.
Because I was,
I'm not sure. But anyways, Monmouth is looking at him, and they found out he was my cousin and stuff like that. But like I said, I love that school. Even after I transferred, there was no hard feelings. I would travel back there and see all my old football friends and stuff like that there, and visit. So like I said, I'm really happy where they brought their program to.
so, after your collegiate career is pretty much over, you're pretty much, you're happy with your season. You All American. What impacted your decision? Did you wrestle at the senior level at all? Or
What?
did you wrestle like at the senior level at all after college?
No, honestly, I was I was burnt out after wrestling season, man. You know, people don't even know. Like me and Gimrich were having battles for that starting spot, and it was crazy because I think the same thing happened with Kassar and Neville's.
Yeah, but I don't think that match was too close. I think it was 7-2. So
Yeah, but like I'm saying like when I wrestled, uh, I was ranked like sixth. When Gingrich was in the lineup, they would rank him like 6, 7. So that was a crazy thing. Like, what other schools having two kids at a weight class where they're both ranked? Man, the only one I remember doing that is like Penn State, and we had that. We had that for a couple times. So I mean, it was just crazy. It was just crazy. Having 8, 9 wrestling loss, and every single one of those wrestling loss feeling like an All American blood round match.
yeah, I mean, those are probably the most intense ones of the tournament.
Yeah, man, it's hard wrestling. It's hard wrestling a kid in a live match that you see in practice. He knows your shit, you know his shit. So it's hard tricking him and beating him on certain moves.
Speaking of that, when you wrestled in the NCAA tournament your senior year, did you end up losing in the quarters or the semis?
I lost in the quarters.
Okay.
Maybe semis. I'm not sure. I wrestled Gwastowski. I lost to him.
Did you wrestle in the blood round at all?
Huh?
Did you wrestle in the blood round?
Yeah.
Okay, you lost in the quarters. Oh, so you were the 8 seed.
The 16. My senior year, I was the 16.
Okay, so this was Gwizdowski's sophomore year.
Yeah, I think so. What it was? He was at NC State.
So it was either it was sophomore year. Okay.
Yeah, I think he already won. I think he already won the national title, if I'm not mistaken. He might have. I don't know.
This was the year he beat Tony Lawson.
Yeah, actually, no. Yeah, you're right. Never mind. You're right. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So going into your blood round matchup, this could be the last match of your career at this point. Like, where do you want to end it off? You lose in the blood round, like everything you put into the season is kind of like a waste at that point. But if you win the match, there's really no pressure. Like, you can place either third or you can place eighth at this point. You're still an All American. What's kind of like your mindset going into that match?
If I lose, it's the last time I could be wrestling in a collegiate or just a team setting, and I didn't want that to be the last time. So I didn't want to finish my college career without taking anything from it after being injured my junior year and not really accomplishing what I wanted to my first year coming back to wrestling. There's no way I was going to leave my senior year empty-handed. That was my whole mindset. It wasn't an option.
You win that match. Like, what are you feeling after it?
Just relief, honestly. Relief. Just a big tension just lifted off me because at that moment I knew I was going to be on the podium. I'd been able to take something home with me.
Yeah, I think the thing I found most interesting is when I talked to Don Bradley. I think this was like probably a couple months ago. You guys pretty much like have like, except for like Dom was completely committed for wrestling, but like going into your junior senior season, Dom was kind of set out to win it. Ended up losing in the quarters. They kind of had like the same mentality throughout the tournament at this point. So like that's kind of interesting to just look at.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because you put a lot of effort that goes into the wrestling season, and at that next level, it's just the only thing that takes over your mind. And wrestling season's grueling. Those practices are grueling. I got PTSD now thinking about those Penn State practices. Like those things really shaped your mind. Like to this day, I haven't gone through nearly anything as tough as that,
Okay.
mentally or physically.
So I think this question has to be asked. So Flow Wrestling put out the Kale Sanderson documentary. So I'm watching that. How you hear like everything you see about the Penn State wrestling room is like all like just nothing playing games and everything.
Mm.
Obviously, that's probably not how practice actually went down. But like, was it similar to that, or was it like more fun oriented, or was it?
That's how practice was like, and Kel had this approach where the only way to get better is to just wrestle. Our conditioning program and everything else at a certain point was just wrestling. How do you become a better wrestler? You wrestle. How do you get conditioned for wrestling? You wrestle. How do you work on your technique? You just wrestle. Everything was just simple as that. And that mentality works when you have a lot of hammers. When you have a lot of hammers in your room, it's just iron sharpening iron.
Yeah.
That might not work. That mindset might not work at every other in every other room because to a certain extent you got to have training wheels on some guys that just can't compete with the starters. But in our room, that's it. That's how it was. It was just wrestling, and because of that type of mentality, we were able to have fun. We knew we were putting in the work. We knew we were working harder than anybody else. Kel had it in our mind that this type of grind to a normal person it would break them, but to us it was fun. Wrestling against these kids and for hours on end, and the roughest of temperature or just situations was fun. Everything about it was fun. So we were able to play the game. He had this charismatic mentality because losing was an option. It's like you could tell how a person is going into a fight or anything else. Obviously the person that's biting his nails, pacing back and forth, sprinting, nervous, moving around and stuff like that. He doesn't look like he's confident in winning. You want to go with the person that's chilling, laughing, joking, that is putting the work, but at the same time, he's comfortable. He's comfortable. He's comfortable enough to have fun with it. Hold on.
Oh,
Oh.
I'll be right back.
You hear me? Hey, can you hear me? I don't know why I can't flip the camera. There we go.
So, like I think Ed Ruth probably resembles like this, what you just talked about most. Dude's probably the most relaxed, like him and Bo Nickel. Like, they can let it fly when they need to, but like, they're just insanely relaxed.
Nolf too. Got that same mentality.
And then I think Zayn might be a little bit, he looks like he would fit into like the Iowa style a lot too. You know, like he just loved to like torture guys on top. It was just fun to watch for the most part.
Yeah.
Uh, did you end up seeing who's number one?
Yeah, I mean, the only match I really paid attention to was Dean Peterson. He's an elite guy. I coached him at Elite Wrestling, so that's kind of why I was seeing it.
It was huge. Me and him actually are in the same region for high school.
Really?
Yeah, and like pretty much he's the only state champ in that region. I think this year at least. So pretty much all eyes were on him. I think the craziest part, the guy only got taken down one time by the number two kid in the state in the short conference finals. Going into the finals, he's winning 11-4, and then they're
Mhm.
in the seatbelt wizard position, right? And the other kid kind of like lat drops Peterson right onto his back. And I've never seen a place like go more crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then he ended up Peterson ended up winning, but like it was like
They didn't like him. For some reason, they didn't like him.
the best. Like I love him because like he embraces the hate.
Yeah, he's definitely a gamer. Um,
Like he'll play
I
with
I love that kid's mentality. He's a hard worker, and he does not say to no to anything. You can put him through whatever type of workout, and he's gonna make sure he does that workout the best. Kid's a gamer.
I think the one thing I've noticed about him is like he's on I think a 75 match winning streak at this point. So like he always has these close matches everybody thinks wants him to lose. Like when the whole crowd's against you, it's not exactly the easiest to win a match,
Hmm.
but he still pulls it out. Because if you saw Flow Wrestling's picks, I think everybody picked against him.
I think everyone. Yeah, he was ranked number 2 or something, right?
Yeah, I think everybody picked Jordan Tyson in that match.
Yeah, but I'm happy he got it done though, and it was impressive fashion.
Yeah, it's been going on quite a bit long. So, I have one question left to ask you.
Okay.
It, it was like a weird one. I remember we used to do these just for fun at the end. If you could take yourself and three other guys from Penn State, from whenever you got there till now, to bring into a zombie apocalypse, who would they be?
um. Well, Dylan Alton,
Okay.
Ed Ruth, and actually no, I gotta revise. I gotta revise this group a little bit. Like, are you talking about people like everybody? Like anybody I can name anybody?
Anybody recently from Penn State? It's like
Oh,
2013 after.
okay. Well, I'm gonna have to get some hunters. People that are good with a rifle in this apocalypse. Maybe probably Morgan McIntosh. Uh, Someone like Josh Rogers.
Okay.
Maybe maybe like Nolf or like Zane. I don't know. Nolf looks like he could do parkour, get in and out of places, and bring back resources if we need it.
Did you see
So,
the posted on his Instagram?
yeah, yeah,
Dude's
he's
been up to
funny.
good things.
Yeah,
So those are your three: Jason Nolf, Morgan McIntosh, and who was the last one?
probably probably Zane Rutherford or Dylan Alton. One of those two.
Interesting. All right. Yeah. It's getting kind of late, but
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for having me on.
so thank you for coming on episode 34. You're a guy I've been wanting to talk to. Probably one of the biggest, in my eyes, icons of like New Jersey wrestling. Kind of,
Appreciate that, man.
yeah, uh, resurrected heavyweight wrestling for the most part in New Jersey, and now we have like all these studs coming in. So thank you for coming on. And this has been episode 34 of Late Night Shots, and we will catch you tomorrow.